Telecom companies Bharti Airtel, Vodafone Idea and Tata Teleservices owe the Indian government lakhs of crores of rupees, and the Supreme Court is demanding the companies to pay it by all means. Telecom operators are collectively liable to pay 1.47 lakh crore rupees in AGR dues as per the Supreme Court order dated October 24, 2019. The deadline to pay the amount ended on January 23rd, but none of the telecom operators except Reliance Jio paid the amount. Even state-owned BSNL and MTNL did not pay the dues. As per the last available estimates, Airtel owes nearly Rs 35,586 crore, including license fee and spectrum usage charges, to the government. Vodafone Idea is staring at dues worth 53,000 crore rupees, which includes up to 24,729 crore rupees of spectrum dues and another 28,309 crore rupees in license fee. Tata Teleservices owes around 13,800 crore rupees, BSNL owes 4,989 crore rupees and MTNL owes 3,122 crore rupees. Out of 1.47 lakh crore rupees, around 1.13 lakh crore is likely to be recovered, as other companies which are liable to pay AGR dues have folded up their businesses. The Department of Telecommunication issued fifth and final notice to telecom operators on February 14th for making payment on the same day, but none of the companies paid the dues. And on more recent note, Vodafone Idea told the Supreme Court that it can pay only 2,500 crore rupees as part of its AGR dues to the government, and another 1,000 crore rupees will be paid by February 21st. Vodafone also appealed to the apex court that the Department of Telecommunication should not take any forcible action and call forth any bank guarantees, as it would further hinder its operations. However, the Supreme Court did not grant Vodafone Idea any relief. Meanwhile, Bharti Airtel said that it has paid 10,000 crore rupees to the Telecom department as part of its AGR dues, and also said that it will pay the balance amount after completing the exercise of calculating dues across 22 circles, which will take at least a week to 10 days. The company added that it shall make the payment before the next date of Supreme Court's hearing, which is on March 3rd week. Let's see from the beginning of the story. The telecom sector was liberalized under the National Telecom Policy of 1994, after which licenses were issued to companies in return for a fixed license fee. To provide relief from the steep fixed license fee in 1999, the government gave an option to the licensees to migrate to the revenue sharing fee model. Under this, operators were required to share a percentage of their AGR, which is adjusted gross revenue, with the government as annual license fee and spectrum usage charges. License agreements between the Department of Telecommunication and the telecom companies defined the gross revenues of the latter. AGR is then computed after allowing for certain deductions spelled out in these license agreements. The license fee and spectrum usage charges were set at 8% and between 3 to 5% of AGR respectively, based on the agreement. The dispute between Department of Telecommunication and the mobile operators was mainly on the definition of AGR. The department argued that AGR includes all revenues from both telecom and non-telecom services of the company. The companies claimed that AGR should comprise just the revenue from the core services and not dividend, interest income or profit on sale of any invest or fixed assets. In 2005, Cellular Operators Associations of India challenged the government's definition for AGR calculation. In 2015, the TDSAT, which is Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal, stayed the case in favor of telecom companies and held that AGR includes all receipts except capital receipts and revenue from non-core sources such as rent, profit on sale of the fixed assets, dividend, interest and miscellaneous income. However, setting aside TDSAT's order, Supreme Court on 24th October 2019 upheld the definition of AGR as stipulated by the Department of Telecommunication. Now coming back to the present situation of telecommunication, Airtel owes government about 35,000 crore rupees. This figure increases every day. For example, if there is a default in credit card payment, interest has to be paid every day. Just like that, the due payment of telecom companies increase every day. For every day of payment delay by the telecom companies, they will have to pay the equivalent of 14% interest per annum, and then there are penalties and lot more such payment clauses. Because of this punitive interest and other penalties, the payment that the companies will have to pay to the government is 4 times the original amount. Vodafone Idea owes the government about 53,000 crore rupees, while Airtel has already paid 10,000 crore rupees and also says that they will pay the balance amount. Vodafone seems a bit vague about its payment plans, but the company has said that they will somehow try to pay the money because the Supreme Court is very strict about this payment and defaulters might be sent to jail. It is also possible that Vodafone might file for bankruptcy. In fact, in one of the press meets, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that there is a concession to the suffering telecom companies. She further said that to pay back the cost of spectrum purchase, 2-year moratorium is given, which means no action will be taken for 2 years. But the companies should find means to pay the AGR, that is the adjusted gross revenue, which is the share of revenue that the telecom companies pay the government. As we saw earlier, this amount does not only include revenue earned in telecom services, but also money raised from the market. This is how the money owed by the telecom companies became this high. On this basis, Airtel owes the government 11,465 crores on its spectrum auction installment alone. We should note that when a telecom company buys spectrum, they don't pay the full amount right away. The companies will have to pay in installments for 10 to 12 years. In that way, Airtel owes the government 11,465 crores on its spectrum auction installment, and Vodafone owes the government 23,920 crores. Though the finance minister said that this amount could be paid 2 years later, this period is not interest-free. This deal obviously does not help the companies, and now the telecom companies owe more than 50,000 crores to the government for their share of revenue. Earlier, the Indian government used to give the spectrum for free in the hope that it will improve the infrastructure. This is how telecom services boomed in the country, and the industry became one of the booming sectors in India. After 2G scam, telecom industry suffered its first setback. After that, spectrum began to be auctioned, and the government of India also said that the telecom companies should pay for the spectrum and give a share of revenue in the business, and that is what is called as AGR, which we saw earlier. The telecommunication companies then approached various regulatory bodies like TDSAT. TDSAT regulates disputes between telecom companies. According to many orders of TDSAT and court orders between 2007 and 2015 said that AGR should only be telecom revenues. But before the final decision was taken on this, in 2011, the government of India went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court intervened and said that the companies cannot say now that they can pay only the telecom revenue as AGR, because when the agreement was signed by the company had clearly said all the revenues. This happened during the UPA rule. When the next government took charge also, no change was made in the prevailing telecom situation. Vodafone owes the government 1.76 lakh crore rupees for the spectrum it bought from the Indian government, and this should be paid in 10 years. Meanwhile, there was a news that Vodafone was about to shut down as they cannot make their payments. If the company shuts down, lakhs of people will lose their jobs. Then the company officially announced that they are not going to shut down. Yet, economists say that the company will pay the 50,000 crore rupees to avoid jail time, but also might announce bankruptcy after that. So that if the company announces bankruptcy, the government does not get the money owed. This also doesn't mean that Vodafone will lose its spectrum, because the company had borrowed 50,000 crore rupees from banks to pay for spectrum. So if the company goes bankrupt, the banks will get the spectrum for auction. By now, we can understand how absurd is this AGR pattern. As the sector was starting to sink, the telecom companies came together and raised their tariff. So, the money that the companies have to pay the government will be going out of our pockets. This means that era of cheap mobile calls and internet data is over. Stay tuned for more such information. This is Nisha PS.